So as you guys know, Haven has made its way back into the map rotation. And now, although this map is one of the most OG in all of Valorant, you'll be surprised how many old players don't remember how to play the map and how many new players have never even played the map before. And this is especially clear with people playing Sentinel that don't know what they're doing at all. That's why in today's video, I'm going to be showing you the best Cypher setups on every single site for Haven. Now to get things started, we're going to move our way over to A. Now, while I'm not a Cypher main, Cypher is one of my best agents in Immortal. And I'm going to start this off with my favorite setup of the entire video. This one is absolutely busted. So when the round starts, you're instantly make your way over to this box. You're going to pull out your cam, you're going to jump, and you're going to miss. And that's going to happen a couple times. But basically, you're just going to jump, spam, clip here. Once you get the cam, should be right about there. And as you can see, this cam is pretty good. You can see all of sight, you can see into short, and you can see the long push. Now, what does this cam look like if you're coming up long? Well, it looks like that. Not very noticeable. Sure, if you're sitting on it the whole time, they're going to hear and they're going to know you're watching them, but that's okay. And here's a short POV. Let's say someone's standing right here on this dot. You can see their legs, as you can see, but they can't see the cam. It's above them. And even when the cam is visible, it's really hard to see. The UI is kind of blocking it, but it's a hard to see cam, and they're really going to find it if you're holding it the whole time looking at it. But that's just step one. That's just our cam. Now, typically what I like to do with this strat is either go Phantom or Judge. This works very well with the Judge. And we're just going to throw our first cage here with a trip on it. Now, you may be thinking this is default Cypher. You can shoot this, you can see this, it's not even good, but we'll get into why that's good later. And with this trip, we're gonna be playing tucked in this corner, and I'll explain why. Before I do, our second trip is gonna go long, because if we're playing short and we can't watch long, we need a trip to at least hold them back. And now with your second cage, you have the option of throwing it down right here, just on the trip, or what I like to do sometimes is throw it a little bit further out onto site, so that if you get compromised and you need to rotate, you can pop the trip and you have most of site covered. Regardless, those are your two options, and it's going to be something like this. And now let me give the rundown. We're going to say you're playing with a Judge because why not? You're going to tuck short and you're going to see that they're pushing A. And now sometimes the cam, when you throw it, is going to let you ping short and long. Sometimes it won't. It depends on the placement, but this is mainly just about seeing. And then when they start their push and start using their initiator util, chances are you won't get arrowed, but they're going to send a drone, a dog, fade dog, something like that after you. And with that, you can either hope it doesn't see you, or you can just break it really quick, then tuck back in the corner. And now they're gonna know you're there, right? That's a bad thing. But here's the strength. You know when they're coming and who's coming. You pop the cage, and so they're probably gonna hit your trip. Let's say they don't, you're still gonna hear them hop into the cage. So you just jump in, shoot, back out. Pretty simple. But once you exhaust that, you get one or two, you clear everyone, or you're just forced up by sheer util. The cage is still up, hopefully. Pop your long cage if you have it set up like this. You can back up onto site and then jiggle with your Judge or Phantom, whatever you bought. I don't know why I went with the Judge for this demo, but we went with the Judge. And then you're still going to have your long trip to play off of if they haven't hit there yet. And the other good part about this strat is that let's say they don't really push your short. It's not their interest, no one's there, but they are 5-manning long. You pop either this trip or this trip, and you wait on them to either hit the trip and spray them through, or you can play it more passively, wait for them to either break or hit the trip, swing out, get your kill, pop the cage. Then you can back up, or you can play it more aggressively, shooting back at them. Either or, you get the idea. And that's just setup one. Setup 2 on A is something a little bit funky, but I still like it. Now you're gonna start the round off by going into Heaven first. There's no trips in Heaven, but it's a good spot to be to throw your cam. Now I like throwing it on any of these rocks. Most people aren't gonna be looking here in the match, and I'd say it's pretty well hidden just because of where it is. I just throw it where it's easiest, but you can get it in some nicer spots like up here. This can see all of sight, and it's just not very visible. Here's what this cam looks like from long. Not very noticeable, as you can see. Then from short, obviously, yes, you can see it, but most of the time you're going to be trying to clear angles and getting gunfights, so it's not going to be too noticeable. Now, I like this setup for when they're hitting too hard, because you have to play the back sight and play more so for their push off from when they're about to get the plant down. Now, I like to have my first trip something like this on this box. It's going to clear off all graffiti, and it won't let them push into it. And then for your cage, you can either have it covering just short door, or if you want to do what I'm going to do most of my matches, you can throw it close to the box like this. This way, when they're pushing out, you can cage the site, and you can either play in the cage or just use it for that bit of an advantage. You'll know if they're in it, you can peek and kill them. Maybe they'll hit the trip because it's going to cover the left anchor of it, or you can just play it again to pressure them into running into your trip. You have the advantage because you know they're stuck to this part of the site. So those are your options for cage one, either a long short or played back. And then for your second cage, it's going to be for long, but it's not going to be in long the normal way. You're gonna throw it against this box just like this, and it's gonna go up long. Now, you may be able to crouch under this. That's a little bit iffy, but it should get the job done. And then second cage is going to go right here, and this is again for you to play off of it. Now, the second setup here, as you can tell, is a little bit more passive. I'd only recommend this one if you're playing on your own on site and you're just holding on the site by yourself. The other one works for that too, but this one, your teammates are gonna have a harder time playing off of depending on where they are, just because there's a lot of area that the enemies can walk up before they hit a trip. Maybe it's good if you have someone playing in heaven waiting for the push out and you're the one on site, or if you're just soloing. That's what I'd use this one for. The other one, I'd say you can get away with more often, even with teammates, without upsetting them. But now that we're done with A, let's move on to site 2 of Haven, which is obviously going to be B. Now, typically most ciphers won't find themselves on B. The issue with the cipher on B is that you can't get your trips across the main entry point, but there is still something else you can do. What we're going to do is try to fight off the plant. There's a lot of room to hide on B because you can sit in the back. So what I'd say you should do is mainly trip off the plant spots. If you trip these off, one, they're probably not going to get broken when people enter, especially if you throw them a little bit deeper. But when they go for the plant, they're still going to hit it unless they plant shallow on this one. But this one, they're definitely going to hit. Then just going to set your cages up like this and like this. These are good because A, it allows you to rotate in and out of the site without needing to worry. You can throw it a little bit deeper if you're scared about someone walking through it and getting out. But then again, you still have this trip here. And then the same goes for the ceiling side, where you can just get out, no one can see you. And when someone does go for the plant, if they hit the trip, you can kill them. And if they don't even hit the trip, you can still spray from inside the cage. If someone's planting right here, you know where they're gonna be planting, you get that kill, you can back out because the cage should last long enough. And it covers everything you need to cover without exposing too much. Your trip prevents them from pushing into it on you. That's just the trips though. For the cam, you have two options on this setup. You can either go for an above the sight setup, just like this, where no one's gonna see it and it's gonna be there the whole round. No one really is gonna turn around and look up for your cam, especially in a spot like that. It's also pretty hard to see. I'd say it blends in relatively well with the environment. Even if you're holding the cam, they're not gonna see it while they're walking up the site because it's behind the entry point. I already pulled everything back, but basically the way you wanna play this is you can start off in the back holding off your cam, or you can start off right here. It's really up to you. And really, you're just going to play off of the info from your trips. You could start off around peeking a little bit, but that's kind of going to give away that that's where you're set up. So I'd recommend playing a little bit further back. The next B site setup I'm going to recommend is going to look something like this. Now I already placed all the trips just so you can see what it looks like from the pushing standpoint. Now you're going to have a cage right here in the middle. You're going to pop this cage. They're not going to be able to see anything. If they decide to push through, if they go right, they're going to hit this floor trip. If they go left, they're going to hit this site trip. Now the good thing about these trips is that they're a little bit more aggressive than the last ones, and they should catch them before they can even get the bomb down, unless if they plant dead center right here, which should be an easy frag for anyone on either link. And plus, you can see if they're planting there on your sneaky little cam, which you put on the right side this time. It works on the left, but just to give you guys options, I put it on the right, but either or works. And I also set you up with the trip here for that when they're pushing, if you need to retake, you can pop this and walk your way into sight. And if you combo that with this cage, you can walk through both. And you know that if they haven't hit these trips, they're not on these parts of site yet, unless they updrafted here, but hopefully you're clearing that yourself. And now with this, you can play a little bit off site, like towards garage link, or you can do the same thing where you play back site, or you can play a little bit closer up on the left, because the thing is, they're not gonna be able to get to you at hopping this trip, which you'll hear, which then you can kill. And you can also peek out to mid, but the issue is your Cypher, you don't want to die early, so I'm not sure if I'd recommend peeking that hard. The thing is with B is that it's a pretty small site, and it's not really Cypher's strong suit, but I wouldn't say this is a bad hold at all. And now as Cypher, the thing is you're not really going to be solely holding garage, but if you wanted a garage setup for some reason, now your first trip is going to go something like this. This is just an off trip to mess people up. Sometimes people don't clear and they rush, and when they do, they either run right or they run straight across. So they'll hit it eventually, and if they do see it, they're going to shoot it, but that doesn't matter. This is a bit of a decoy trip. Our second trip is going to go on the floor right along this line, as long as it's tucked under the stair. And for our cage, you're going to walk as close as you can to this wall. And when you're walked up as close as possible from the center, you're going to turn your crosshair slightly to the right until it aligns with this wire. It's going to be, you see this little crack right here on the top? You're going to pull that down until you get to the wire. When you throw that, it's going to land on the right side there. And if you pop this cage, it's going to be a one-way on garage just like this. See how gross that was? And it's really easy to throw. Just to show you again, you're going to line up in the middle of the door. You're going to walk over. See this crack right here. You're going to aim your crosshair down. Sorry, wrong crack. Again, it's the triangle right here, the top crack right there, down to the line. So you walk through the middle, triangle, down to the wire, throw it. Then you get your one way. It's going to cover garage. And now the reason I wouldn't recommend throwing a trip like this close on the garage is because it's really only going to get someone if they're being a bit silly. You could throw it regardless. It's up to you, but that's not my personal preference. It does work really well with this one way though, because if they walk through and they hit the trip, You already know you're getting that kill. I believe in you. Okay, and then for our second cage, we're gonna jump up here, same spot, line up the middle, and you're gonna aim right at the spot I'm shooting at. Now to line this up, you see this black bar, you're gonna look all the way up, and you see this pillar, you're gonna go above the pillar, and then you're gonna go about one more pillar distance above that. You see where the shadow changes? It's right here, right where it becomes a little bit darker. Then you're gonna throw this, and it's gonna land on the edge of the box here. You're gonna pop that, and that's gonna cover most of garage, especially on the left side. So now you may be wondering, what are we doing here? Well, we're gonna have our cam. Gonna put it right above the garage because this way it's less likely that they look for it. And here's the risky part about playing garage. If you tuck left, you're gonna get wall banged. That's kind of the issue. Like if they know you're here, you're gonna get wall banged. So this might work once, but you could try it if you want to. If you tuck hard enough, you might be safe, but it's a little bit risky. Then when you're in here, you see them coming, pop your cage. You can peek out. They're not gonna be able to see you because you're gonna be covered by your cage. And while you peek out, if you can, maybe cross, who knows, maybe they smoked something, but that's a little bit risky. That's the issue with playing the left side. Let's say you're still playing the left side, peeked out, you shot, you went back in. Good thing for us, we have our second cage, which one way is the door. So if they're not in already, go brrrr, then you get another guy. Another way to play this is with a wall bangable weapon, so that when they walk through garage and you ping them on your camera, like ping, you go brrrr, and as you can see, it's gonna go through this and it's gonna kill them. But again, I wouldn't recommend holding Cypher, holding solely garage, but if for some reason you need to, like maybe you have double sentinel, this is gonna be your garage hold. And then we move our way over to C so I can show you, or you can see me. Yo, my bad guys. Anyway, so you can see the Cypher setup. Here's what we're gonna do. So the round started and you're running over and you're gonna go in this exact pacing. You're gonna run over, you're gonna see this pillar right here, you're gonna jump, you're gonna get closer because it didn't work, then you're gonna just throw your cam. Just spam your mouse one, it should throw eventually. There used to be deeper cam spots here where you can throw your cams, but now there really isn't. I think it stops at this wall. I'm pretty sure it's the only spot you can throw it. And you can do it even easier if you come right here. You won't even have to jump to throw it and it'll always be blue instead of spamming it. Okay, you throw it right there. That's gonna be the first thing you do. You're gonna run over, you're gonna instantly try to get this cam down. I like to just run up and jump throw it. Usually it works. Regardless, then you're gonna come over to long and you're gonna throw your trip. You're gonna throw it close and crouch head height. That way they can't jump over it, they can't crouch under it, and they also cannot break it without exposing themselves to the trip. Next, you're gonna throw a one way, which you're gonna tuck along this box as far as you can. You're gonna look inside this little horn, and you're just gonna throw your cage. It'll land right there. You pop the cage, it's gonna fully one way the right side along. Then normally when I'm doing this setup, since there's only one entry point to C site without garage, this is all I'm gonna trip on site. I usually put my second trip. It's a pretty default spot, but it's good for intel. Again, head level crouch height right here on garage. Then you may have noticed I have not thrown down a second cage. Well, that is because I like to pocket my second cage on this site. The thing is, a lot of the times I'm not going to go C, and your cages are pretty useful when it comes to something like rotates. Let's say someone's holding B and I need to rotate. I can throw this, pop my cage, and I'm safe. I throw it a little deeper there, obviously, but you get the idea. Another option though that I like to do is sometimes I'll throw it on the left side of this box. That way, if they hit my cage on long, I can pop my cage and spam through the smoke. You can do the same thing on the right. It's really up to you. That's just preference. But for the sake of the video, let's just say second cage goes right here. You're gonna throw it between this crack, and it's not really too perfect. It doesn't matter where you throw it as long as it covers this area, and you can use it to spam. And then you have a few options when you set up your site like this. Normally, I just play backside, so you know I can play off my cage, which I just showed you. I can peek right if I want to, because once this cage is popped up there, you're safe to peek this as much as this. Obviously, you show yourself too much, you're gonna die. But here you can see basically all the way back and long. Be careful because they might be able to see your feet too. But this is mainly good for when they're closer up and when they're about to hit the cage. And then as well, after you burn that cage, you can come here. They probably didn't break the trip. Kill them there. Then the garage trip is more for info, but it's not entirely just info based, because if you want, you can play in this corner and you can hold the trip. You'll see them as they're walking up to it. I just wouldn't recommend this because it's risky, because let's say that you're compromised, you get in the fight, you don't kill them, they don't kill you. Now you have to back up. If they are pushing C, you pop this cage as you get out and you can get pretty far. But unless you have your pocket cage like I told you to, you're probably not going to get out. But maybe you do have your pocket cage, maybe you're a smart player and you're able to get out for free. Depends what you want to do. Anyways, that completes that for C1 setup. Let's go over C2. And now C setup number 2 is going to look something like this. Now, instead of this cam, you do have the option to throw it in the same spot. I just like giving you guys options in case you don't want to use the same cam spot again, because I caught on to you. But now option 2 has absolutely zero garage focus, but I will go over an optional trip you can throw afterwards. Now let's go over cages first. Now you want one cage for C long. I threw 2 here because you have options. If you want and they're not catching on to it yet, you can throw the one way that we showed. It's, you know, this corner, you look right there in the horn, you throw in the horn. Or option 2, you can just cover all of C long. This doesn't really matter. This is just, you know, give some resistance to the enemies. Then cage number 2 is going to go right here, just so if you're playing backside or if you're here, you can peek off of your trips when they're hit, or you can just use it for a quick rotate between either side. Again, this cage is in the middle between these 2 boxes, and those cages are in either spot. And then for our trips, our first one is going to go on this box just like this. You're going to stand just about where the trip's hitting right there, and you're going to line it up on this corner. Now, to show you that, I'm going to go here. Sometimes you got to fight with it. There you go. You line up in the corner. It's going to throw right to you. You want it until they can't jump over it. And then your second trip, as you can see, is on this jar. Stand back here, throw the trip down, and it's going to go right into the wall. This is going to cover off all their entry points from the right side of the site. But let's say you want a little something more for garage. For your garage cage, you see where my crosshairs, you want to throw it right here. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's going to be on the 7th brick right behind the bottom left corner of it. And as for where you're standing, you're going to be standing along this big bar right here on this box. It's also, you can look at it as this thing, the middle of this path on these bars. I can't explain it any better. On the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, bottom right, throw cage. It's going to land right there. Pop this. You're going to one way all of, not really a one way now, is it? But it's going to cage off all of garage, which is good. That's just what we want here. We want to cage garage. Then for our trip, you can't really get too much special done. That's a tricky part about garage. There's not really going to get trips for it, but you can just throw this right here. You pop your cage. They're not going to see it. They're going to walk into it. That's just really as good as it's going to get when it comes to garage. Your best options are the trip here, the trip there. And if you have a better trip, feel free to show me it. You know, comment down below how I throw it, and I will definitely include that sometime. But with that being said, that is our setups for Haven. With the map being new, it's best to take advantage that most people don't know how to play it right now. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe, stay hydrated, and wear your seatbelts. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.